The bottom part of the curve?
Right here.
The lowest point.
Okay? Let's be careful in language. I'm going to explain why in just a second. Remember, it says a relative minimum. It's not the lowest point for the entire graph, but it is the lowest relative to stuff around it. Okay? Notice the function stops what at that point?
Going down.
Okay, do you know the mathematical term?
Decreasing.
Decreasing, and it starts to
Increase.
increase. That's the only thing that has to be true for it to be a relative minimum, is it stops decreasing and starts increasing. So it is relative to things around it the lowest. But I will point this out, is that the absolute lowest y value for this entire graph?
No.
You're saying no, why not?
Because the graph keeps on going to the left.
Yeah, doesn't it go below that over here on the left-hand side? There's a lot of y values well below this minimum. That's just the lowest for that region. So what about a relative maximum?
The
The
opposite.
arrow in the top right.
So up here?
Yes.
Top right. Because that's not
How did we go all
relative
the way
maximum.
keep going up?
So if you think about it, a relative minimum is where the function stops decreasing and starts increasing. So what would a relative maximum
When it
be?
stops increasing, it starts decreasing.
Stops increasing, right? It's increasing up to there. Stops increasing and starts decreasing. All right, so as it stops increasing here and starts to decrease. And again, Selita, this is that important detail that it's the highest for that section. It's highest relative to what's around it. Not the highest for the entire graph, but in this little region, is there anything higher? No. So it is a maximum relative to what's around it. Does that clarification make sense? Now, we're going to do stuff to help with B through F later, so I'm not going to cover B through F right now, but I am going to cover A because B through F, can't really do it without A on this practice. So Cynthia is an engineer at a manufacturing plant. Her boss asked her to use rectangular metal sheets to build storage bins with the greatest possible volume. Ms. Estel did this lesson with y'all. Notice it was a 8 foot by 10 foot. And what are we doing with these squares? We're taking away, we're really cutting them out. Because if I cut these out, what can I do with these edges or these sides?
I'll fold them up.
I can fold them up, right? Fold them, and it'll create a box that you can store stuff in. That's the idea here. And so what kind of shape would I be looking at when I fold these up? Not just a rectangle, a rectangular prism is what it's called. It would just have an open top, right? That's what we'd want to recognize. In this case, we'd have a rectangular prism. And they're asking about volume here. So how do we calculate volume? Length times width times height. That's how we calculate volume. Right? And they're asking us to write a function to represent the volume of a bin when we remove those squares. Well, if I look at this length here, what is the length? But I'm going to take out the squares, right?
So it's 10 minus 2x.
I'm taking out x here, and I'm taking out x here. So the length would be 10 minus 2x. I'm literally taking out 2 x's. What would the width be? And then what would the height be?
X.
Yeah, if we fold those sides up, whatever this is, that's how tall that box will be. There's the function, right? You have to have that function to be able to answer the rest of these questions, but take advantage of that. Now, this is again something I really need to emphasize. When you do your homework, what should you use to help?
Notes.
Your notes. I believe, if I remember correctly, the getting started was a problem almost identical to this one. In the kindest way possible, it baffles my mind because I can tell that we're not using our notes. We gotta start doing that. The reason why I assign homework, one, because you need practice, but two, at the end of the day, I hope, I pray that you are studying for my assessments. And what should you be using to study? Your notes. So if you do homework that is associated with that lesson, then you're already have gone back and looked at your notes at least once. If you're not used to using your notes to study, you've got to fix that. I can't go home with you and teach you how to study, but what I can tell you is this. Different people feel like they learn better in different ways. Make flashcards for your vocab terms, make a Quizlet, make whatever you need to help you with that. But what I can tell you is this, that all of your information should be based on the notes that you take in these books. You don't even have to have a notebook for the most part for me. Your notes should be in the book, or at least on these pages. Or add extra if you need to. Okay? You will need to use that equation to continue the rest of these. And I will say this, I don't know how Ms. Estill talked about it. We will talk about domain and range if it wasn't clear when she went through it with you, but we'll talk about domain and range. And what I mean by that is, I don't know exactly if my language will line up with her language, but it will be the same ideas, right? So make sure that you understand what domain and range is. Understand how to identify relative min and max. But please note, right, we should be using technology for this. You have the factored form, sure, but if you graph this, won't you be able to figure out domain and range, figure out your relative max and relative min pretty easily? Now, I will let you, if you want to come at the end of the day, borrow a calculator. If you have a laptop or something like that, I can actually download the TI Inspire software on your laptop. But if you don't have that as an option, what can we all do? Desmos. You can get Desmos on your phone. Go to Desmos, graph these functions. Alright. I'm not going to talk about this review because hopefully it makes sense now. Hopefully. I will make a note here. Some of the stuff the book does is goofy. This review 1B, the reason I didn't assign it is because they actually screwed up that parabola. That's why I didn't assign it. So, 1B was not assigned. Number 2 though. We just didn't read if we struggle with this one. What does 2A say?
Create a table.
Create a table. So to match this. Now we should pay attention to what's going to happen here. What do you think the next figure in this would be? Any guesses what it would look like?
What's the question?
Any guesses what this figure would look like?
The big one?
The next one after this. We've got this. Wow, that is ugly. And then we've got this.
What do you have, like,
It would be.
4, I mean,
It'd be 4 and 3.
6 extra?
Add to the back, you know, somehow. How I added like squares all along the back of it.
So we would, but like, why did we didn't just like go out this way, we also got a 2 here, right?
So it'd be 3 down.
So it'd be 3 down,
And,
right here,
yeah,
and then across here?
yeah.
That's That's just the pattern, right? Now, I will point out there is a slightly easier way to recognize it. But that's the pattern. 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. Right? There's that square there, we can see that as well, but regardless, if you made a table for these, so first figure we've got, what, 3? The second figure we have 8. The third figure, is that 15? You could do another one. Which is going to give me a 4 by 4. And at a certain point, I would want to notice a pattern so I don't have to keep drawing.
Are you just adding odd numbers to the y?
Not just odd. But, because again, notice this is a 4 by 4. And I'm going to have 4 here, right? So what's the next one going to be? A 5 by 5? And how many are going to be on the top and bottom?
20.
No. Top and side, I should say. 5. Notice I don't have to draw it anymore. I can count. I can use math to add it up. But there's 16 plus 8 is 24. 5 by 5 is 25 plus 10 is 35. Right? We want to look for patterns to make our job easier. We should also be wanting to pay attention to the change in the y.
It's going like close to the other time.
Oh, it's going, well, the rate of change is changing by 2. So the sixth one would be plus 13 for 48. What type of function is this? I believe they actually ask about c. I don't think it's exponential. I don't think it's linear. Why do you say it's quadratic? Remember, if it's exponential, an exponent means repeated. No. Multiplication. An exponent is repeated multiplication. We're not repeatedly multiplying.
No.
Linear means it's constant additive. Are we adding the same thing every time?
No, but
No.
subtract
Rate of
right here.
change is
Oh, no, it's adding.
Notice it's adding 2 here. This is constant.
Right. That'd be quadratic.
So the rate of change is,
Linear additive.
Right.
Quadratic.
so it's a quadratic function. Now, I will point out, you could have also seen that graphically. If you took your table and you graphed it, you would see half of a parabola. So I've already got you heavily started on 2, very heavily started. I would hope we have our notes on that so that we can write it down, so that we can finish it. This is the review of lesson 2. It's on the second sheet. No. I'll let you continue taking notes in a second, but I do want to point this out. For number 3, it says solve this equation. What type of equation is this?
Standard? No.
It's x squared. It's quadratic, right? As soon as I see a quadratic equation in standard form, what are the 3 methods available to solve a quadratic in standard? Factoring it,
vertex form.
convert it to vertex form, and then, well, remember, zero product property is with factors, right?
The quadratic.
And then quadratic formula. Guys, as soon as I see this, I'm thinking about those different methods, and most of us did not think about those different methods. But this is a review. This is from the last unit. Think about those 3 methods. Now, we'll point out, what do we want our equation equal to? And so a lot of us did that right, but as soon as I look here, I'm thinking about those 3 different methods. And Elijah already said, hey, I want to factor, but I want you to think about it. If I use the AC method, 1 times 25 is 25. Are there any factors of 25 that add up to -6? No. So can I factor it?
5 times 5.
That's not.
So you're gonna either have to use the quadratic formula or convert to vertex form. I will make a note, you should get imaginary roots. That's the one note I'll give you from there.
You still a podcast.
Then I don't do anything.
So while you finish taking those notes, I'm gonna pass out the review packet that I built.
Oh.
So, I mean, you might want the notes to help with the review. Quick note, if you want to resubmit your homework assignment, when is it due?
Friday.
Friday. If you have not submitted it, I will put a stop on it being late, and if you have not submitted it, I will only count it as minus 20% if you turn it on Friday, since I gave it back today,
Submit
and
it.
so they can resubmit. Yeah, if you, lessons 2 and 3, since I gave it back so that you can redo it, I will only count it as minus 20% if you turn it in by Friday.
Wait, stop it. I got
What did I
something.
get to? Wait, no, I
I
got.
might not.
Whoa, what?
So what do you really want?
Friday. It's already minus 20% off because it was due on this past Friday.
Same thing.
Oh, I turned it in Friday.
So now you can revise it and resubmit it on this upcoming Friday. Huh?
Doesn't make you feel.
1 through 1/8 is out. Yeah,
Oh, I'm resubmitting.
correct.
I want 20% off.
Madison, if you turned it in on time and you resubmit it, you get full credit. If you haven't done it at all and turned it in, then it's minus 20% when you turn it in on Friday.
That's what he said.
Sweet Moses girl.
Can we put this book up?
I need you to clearly, one, you're reviewing for the test, don't you need that? Two, Madison, I have a 2.5 week at home that I know I have to like repeat myself for a lot because he just doesn't understand anything, but come on, you're in high school.
Grow up.
She's like.
All right,
Imagine just a boy.
this is the review packet. Hear me very clearly on this. I don't care what problem you work on. What do you think the only requirement is for me? Nope.
Show your work.
Yeah, I definitely want you to show what you know, but there's actually one other rule. Work within your group. You as a group need to agree on which problem you're going to work on.
Alright, gang.
You as a group need to agree.
Oh, no, they all do.
Okay? I will say this, probably midway through class on Thursday, we will talk about details of 12 through 15 and then the woodworker problem. So I would work through the other ones before that. All right, let's get to work as a group. Cool beans. With the time that we have left. Why? Damn, it's
Because it's number 1.
There's only 1, 2.
Alright, that's just the number. Here we go.
Now you know.
Geometry. Let's do number 12. This is the main random.
Beginning of the week.
You saw me out. We did not split. She came out.
You remind me that you were out those
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
I didn't get that part. She got it.
What's the PE there? What was it say?
What are you staring at me?
You asked me a question.
I don't know, you look.
Did you read that still? And then I just came up with a question. He scared me. I just said something.
Oh, I thought we were doing
Yeah, for real.
I'm sorry.
He just walks upstairs and he's just like,
One.
So,
Two,
Mr. King.
you've been like super disengaged most of the time during this
Okay, cool.
whole class discussion.
I wanna work on-
Engaging.
Number 6.
So how could you respectfully say that? Make sure everyone's on board. Guys, can we work on number
It
two?
really does.
Because otherwise you're demanding a skill set of collaboration.
I rather will.
I'm telling you right here, right now, it's not how I would ever want someone to work with me. Because if you want to work with me, then you're gonna ask, hey, can we work on this?
No, I'm
one?
doing. Don't say that. I'm like
You demanded, I want to work on this problem.
Probably like a 4.
I
get
third.
I'm confused because I just got to start on number 2. Aren't y'all? Well, we are. I told you that. I saw y'all agreeing. Wait. So the H right here. I know what I'm
I would say A is Q. Or why you're saying number 3 is Q.
Show me what it is.
Alright, the roots are -2.
So just because that's 3 X's, it's automatically
I just kind of.
So what plates do you want for? Or is he no longer doing plates?
What should it be? Could, like I know we haven't studied it yet. Could it be something higher like quartic, which is the 4th degree, or quintic, which is the 5th degree?
Yeah. We need to read the thoughts.
No, yeah. I'm just asking, what's the reasoning? Yeah.
Well, could it be? That is technically. No.
Because here, okay, so let's think about this. Would this be cubic?
Yeah.
I like the next
What about this?
I mean, this would have how many zeros?
That's what I mean, they get high.
Right there. This would be the same x-intercept, but this would also be 2 zeros. So is that cubic?
It's the word.
So it's not just, hey, I'm counting up the zeros, it's counting up the number of, or it's not just counting up the number of x's, it's counting up the number of roots or zeros. Each one of these is what type of function? Each one, every linear has how many zeros? That's what we want to talk about. Each factor has one zero. And this is small. I made you think because that's my job.
I don't like
That's why y'all follow my class, because my daughter's going to graduate and need nothing.
That literacy thing about a lot.
That's why I signed this. Yeah, I'm considering assigning that literacy for all at the beginning of the year.
We're supposed to be as a group.
Well, so remember that -3 is understood to be divided by 1.
Right.
You're not
So what I would do is I would multiply by 1.
I'm done talking about it again.
Remember, you probably also see that.
I was in
But I will point this out. Okay, so you got x equals 1 twice. But, right, so but that doesn't have a multiplicity of 2. That's the whole point. You would need, that's the thing, what are the zeros and what are their multiplicities? Hold up.
What is your reasoning for A? Why is it not A?
Alright, I spent more time giving instruction than I meant, but we will continue this review. I will say this. I will take away the homework. Actually, there's a homework assignment up here. Ignore that. What I need you to have done is I need you to have attempted numbers 1 through 4 before you come to class on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
1 through 4 before Thursday. At least attempted them, so we can discuss. Yeah, it's all that. What's your issue with the class group chat? But here's the thing, how many fractures does each of us have? Look at it. There's 1, 2, right? Right, it's 10 fractures. Look at it. E of x, Q of x, R of x, P of x, Q of x, R of x, right? Each one of those fractures is going to have a 0 associated with it. So find which one set of factors has the right zeros. Does that make sense? You sure? Yes, sir.
No, wait,
Okay. Because you weren't here Friday, right? Hold on a second, let me just make a note on there. Find mine. So, Devlin, were you out more than just Friday or just Friday? Just Friday? So it'll just be minus 10% instead of 20%. Just to put it. We went over parts of this, yeah, so that right, that you already answered. That's it. Say again?
Only 3 pages.
Yeah, these are together and then that's a separate assignment. Yeah, these are both from lesson 2, so that's the practice and this is the review that goes with that practice. Oops. Hold on to them and correct them and look at them, make sure they're good to go.
So do I turn this in on Friday to resubmit it?
Yeah, submit it on Friday.